speaking how the first part, which is purity of the force, second section would be books of the devotions, how important both of them go together. And you see how the third part, teaching the essence, also fits in with all three. And it provides such a nice balance of wholesome Krishna consciousness. And that's what Srila Prabhupada gave us. He gave us all three aspects of making a devotee, by which a devotee can follow the principles of devotional life, but also become solidify their faith by giving Krishna to others. So the same principles, all three principles, also work for children. Actually, for Prabhupada said that raise children is not any different from how you would want to be a devotee. The process you follow, we follow to become a devotee is the same process that children also have. And that's why Prabhupada said that children do whatever the elders are doing. It's pretty similar, the program. Of course, there's some differences because they have to go to, they need to study. They have to go to school or be educated in some way or the other. So anyway, I don't know if we can cover all three, but Mataji, we have another session, right?
Yes.
1 more.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If I cover the first part today, it depends on the number of questions. I want to make it interactive, meaningful for everybody. So depending on the number of questions, we'll see how much we cover today. But there's definitely another session for this seminar, where I will cover the rest of it, whatever doesn't finish here. The second part, which is books on the basis, the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for our children, is really the heart of the whole seminar. So I would definitely encourage you to try to come for that as well. So this is a very nice quote by Srila Prabhupada. And he's saying here, if we train children by developing and encouraging their propensity to love Krishna, then we shall be successful in educating the propensity to love Krishna. Then we shall be successful in educating them to the topmost standard. Then they shall happily agree to whatever you ask. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying, making our children devotees of Krishna, it is the topmost education. It is the topmost thing. In other words, when children become nice devotees, everything material will follow. It's not the other way around, right? Material follows the spiritual, not that the spiritual follows material. Like material qualifications is not suddenly going to give a person spiritual qualifications. But spiritual qualifications will make a person expert in everything. It's a fact, actually. It's not something, because we see that how the Shastras say that all the material qualities that we want our children to possess, they're all like the qualities that demigods have. Right? We all want our children to be like demigods, which means they must be nice looking, they should have high learning, should be wealthy, should be famous, all these things, right? We are hoping our children to get. But all these qualities that the demigods have, they are actually waiting at the door of the devotee for the devotee to accept them. So, if a person, why? Because Krishna, he is the source of all material and spiritual both. So when we love Krishna, the material will come. And we see that in Shastra, isn't it? All the great personalities, Raj Rishis, they were first and foremost great devotees. They were first and foremost great devotees, and then everything else was there. Because Krishna empowers his devotees. So this is what Prabhupada is saying here, of course. And then now, a little bit background, first of all, in understanding Prabhupada's instructions on what for our children, on the education of our children. Among the three things that Srila Prabhupada stressed was book distribution, and what else? Deity worship, and the third was Guru Pula. It was very high on that list. Of course, and the reason was for one reason, and that was to give our children good character. Actually, it's easier to find a job today than to find anybody with good character, isn't it? Very, very difficult to find good character. Why should a child have good character? It's because in this way he pleases Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, then everything is possible. And we see that in the story of Mahabharata. The Pandavas, because they had such high character, they followed dharmic principles. Even though they were faced with such a big army, with big, big Maharathis, very, very expert in fighting and everything, but yet, because victory is always on the side of a devotee, they won the war. And you will see in the story of Mahabharata, same thing. Karna, he had amazing qualifications, amazing qualities, right? People like him, and even Bhishma, who was such a pure devotee, but yet because he was on the wrong side, the adharmic side, he lost. Right? In other words, following dharmic principles, or following things that require that, principles, having moral principles, not moral, but really more than that, ethical principles, right? Of humility, self-control, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, all these things is very, very necessary. Because that's what makes a person happy. Without these qualities, Prabhupada said, it's like decorations on a dead body. Have you seen somebody with amazing scholarship but proud? It's not attractive at all. You don't care for such a person. Humility, these things are attractive. So we hear and how to teach these qualities is precisely what Krishna conscious education is going to give. So this was Prabhupada's idea. He said, if we raise a generation of exemplary Vaishnavas, that will be the glory of our movement, and that will be the glory of your country as well. Just in case you're thinking, it's not just the movement, but we can have a country which can have leadership like that, people like that. He envisioned our children not to be just devotees, but also to be devotees and to be able to do, to lead the country, to do big, big things. He didn't envision that they should only be within the temple and not be outside, and to do very leadership and have leadership positions. He envisioned that. And we see that in the Shastras. All these Rajrishis, they were ruling the whole world, the whole planet was under them. There was only just one flag. Yudhishthira Maharaj, the whole planet was under one flag. And that is all because of his character. Anyway, so this was Prabhupada's vision for our children. He said if they can practice, if they can have good sadhana, if they can follow these devotional principles, and if they can share Krishna with others, that makes an all-round devotee. To have it yourself, good sadhana, to have good knowledge of the Shastras, and to be able to give Krishna to others. Because that evokes the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Any family who's involved in the missionary activities of Lord Chaitanya definitely evokes the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And a good family, the best, in a grahastha ashram, the best preachers are children who are who are born and raised in families who are strong, who are together and who are strong. They make the best preachers. So in this way, we are creating a generation of children who can actually, with this movement, the society, that we can be proud of. Okay, just a little bit about my history. Just how I came into this whole field of parenting. Of course, I raised my own children, my two boys, and I homeschooled them because after, they did go to school for 2 years, but then I got disappointed, you know. I tried it out for 2 years, and the main disappointment I remember was that I faced that when they came back from school, there was no time. The whole day, the best time of their day was gone because they're in the school, right? So trying to bring them back to a different consciousness was so much hard work on my part. It was frustrating actually, and I was trying to do that, and it was just, I gave it up. And then I thought, and then of course, academically also I didn't find it very challenging. If your child is above average, he's not challenged because schools are meant for the average children. There's so many children in one class, right? I mean, how is the teacher expected to cater and challenge each one, right? In the early system of the Vedic education, there used to be a tutorial system where there used to be one teacher and a few students of different ages. Now these are big classrooms, 30, 40 children. And this whole concept of a school today is only like 50 years old. It wasn't before, you know, existing before. It's something that's totally very, very recent. So like Prabhupada said that in a situation like this, then it's like if children are just with children of their own age group. Thank you. Better. Anyway, so to summarize my history here, so I started looking for an alternative way of schooling for them, huh? And in America, homeschooling is quite popular. So, but devotees were not homeschooling so much. So it was something new among the devotee community, and definitely I was very, very nervous about it. And then, but anyway, I thought I'd take the plunge. And I thought I'll play it safe. I'll start homeschooling them during summer, during 3 months of summer. And then if they do well, okay, I'll continue, otherwise they can go back to school. So there's no, loss of time or, so I did that. I bought a curriculum. In America you can buy a full year's curriculum, a whole year curriculum. So I bought one, and then I started teaching them. And within 3 months they did the entire year's worth of work. And it's not, it sounds so shocking, but and they were studying like 2 hours a day because there's so much quality time being spent. Huh? What you cover in school probably for a whole month, you can do it in 1 day. It's really true. I mean, you can, try it. It's really true. So anyway, so I said, well, that's not so difficult. And then, then I thought, then I got a little dissatisfied with the curriculum, because I thought, well, you kind of stuck with those books. So if they're better in language, you still are stuck in that grade level. So I had to buy another grade level and all those things. So just make my own curriculum, and that again can be done, And so I decided to teach from Srila Prabhupada's books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. And I hadn't read Srimad Bhagavatam at all. And a lot of the reason was because I wanted to read Srimad Bhagavatam. My life was so busy, we were trying to run a little preaching center. We had moved to a place called Boise, and there was nothing there. There was no devotees at all. We were the first ones, actually, to go there. So we had to create association, and so we started a center, and I thought, well, I can, in this way, they could start something like that. Huh? So anyway, so we would do, the first thing we would do in the morning would be a morning program. That's how we started the day. And then we would read and more about that later, and then we would read Srimad Bhagavatam for about 2 hours a day. And again, I will show you how we studied Srimad Bhagavatam. Remember, I did not read anything before Srila Prabhupada's books, before I started teaching my children. So it's not like I had a Bhakti Vaibhav degree. I didn't have anything. I was learning Bhagavatam with them. But we still end up the teacher. Why? Because we are so much older and we have so much experience in life. We still end up, being able to teach them.
And they were growing spiritually. I could see within a span of few years, like within a span of 6 years, their language was like way up. And Prabhupada will say in one of those quotes I will be reading to you, that his books are in master's PhD. And it is so true. I know other children, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they can read fluently. Prabhupada's books are very, very high caliber. And so that was really, I could see the effect, and there's so much going on in terms of vocabulary and communication skills and all that. So after studying Bhagavatam, we would go outside to the city and try to do different activities, kind of basically trying to put those principles in practice. And we would get involved in a lot of activities like book distribution, Harina, book tables. We'd book tables ahead of time, prasadam, cookie distribution. We'd even do school programs. I would call the schools in advance and ask them if they would like to see a presentation on the culture, Vedic culture, and everybody pretty much knew. Boise was a small place, so they could see that we were the Hare Krishnas. So everybody knew that. So we took opportunities like that. We started out with presentations in preschools and then elementary school, kept moving up and up, and as the children started growing, we kept moving up. And then finally to high school and then to college. So all these things, and then we also participated in interfaith programs. And then we participated also, we did prison programs. So you see, we did so much. So sometimes we think, we have the misconception that schooling is all behind, sitting behind a desk 8 hours a day. If you have to be sentenced, literally sentenced to a desk 8 hours a day, and that's how you're going to get education. And really that's not true. Most of the education happens outside the home. And you see within the process that Srila Prabhupada gave us, you'll see everything is there. All types of training that we need to give our children is already there. That's what I experienced. Remember, even I was experiencing, my faith was growing as time went on. I didn't come with that faith. I had some faith, and that's why I wanted to do this, but it's still, there's a lot of, fear and nervousness, are you playing with the kids' life, you're not sending them to school, and the type of opposition you get from people, from families, are you doing the right thing? Right? So I was dealing with a lot with all that, right? But, just, why not? Just try it, it's like, I thought, it's well worth it. It's just, the children look really happy. If you ask my children what they did during all these years of education, homeschooling, they can't remember any schooling. What they remember, it was like one big play. Because they were involved in so many activities. But I knew that they were being educated. They didn't think. Because Krishna consciousness is so much fun, right? You don't see it as work. Especially if you're doing Srimad Bhagavatam and going out and doing so many things. But I knew. Because I was taking a yearly exams for them. There's a test you can, test how well they're doing. And they were scoring very high. They were scoring very high. So I knew that things were okay. Because otherwise, my husband would have been on my case, We were like checks and balances, like he would check me on certain things that I, was not doing, didn't want to do. And, and then he would be weak on certain things. So we kind of brought it together in a way. So anyway, so this is what I'm trying to do here in the seminar, to give you the faith. Because I know a lot of us as devotees may have lost that faith. We may have gone through turbulent times in our devotional path, right? And we may be thinking that, okay, yeah, this process is nice, but when it comes to children, we need to let them decide for their own, or just let them go, because there's so many things that happen which were not exactly good, So we kind of lose that faith. But really, what Prabhupada gave us is foolproof. It's perfect. How we handle it, that is another thing, right? And it's natural when you have an institution or something can go wrong. But it doesn't mean that things don't build up again, right? And things don't get corrected. Right? This is the process of material life, right? Nothing remains perfect. Nothing remains the same. I read, somebody was telling me that there are 3 stages that one goes through. One is neglect. In the beginning when the Hare Krishnas, started, people just said, just forget them. Who are these people? Neglected. And then there comes the difficult period when people are after you. You can say the pressure, the torture, whatever. And then comes the new birth, the appreciation, the admiration. And you see that all over the world, the temples are rebuilding, they're doing. Krishna consciousness is practically flourishing everywhere. I travel all over the world. It's exploding in America, it's exploding in India. I was in South Africa, it's amazing. Exploding everywhere, Sooner or later, so we've already passed through like 2 stages and now we are. So in other words, we have to start building our faith again. That what Srila Prabhupada gave us is so amazing. So amazing. And everything can be done so nicely within the process that he gave us. It's all here. We don't have to look outside. So now we will do the first section, which is purity is the fourth. So we're going to be talking about different things that we need to do in our home to make it conducive for our children's upbringing, Krishna conscious upbringing. Okay. So obviously the point is that if there are things we should do, there must be also things that we should avoid. There's always the do's and the don'ts in material life. There's always 2 sides. Right? So let's discuss the things that we should avoid. And that is a very big topic here, avoiding screen time and limiting internet. So there's 2 problems, and even, there's so much research on this. Even the Karmis, they understand this. In America, if you go, there's one bumper sticker that's very popular. They'll have a bumper sticker on their front door with a TV with a cross on it. Like there's no TV in this house. And they know that, and they've studied the negative effects of screen time and all that. So what to speak of devotees? For us, it's obvious. Why? Because there's 2 problems with it. One is the content, and the other one is the medium in which it's given. So the content, nobody will argue, right? It breaks all the 4 regulative principles that we as devotees are trying to follow. All the ads, the commercials, they are encouraging this breaking of these 4 principles. It's all about meat eating. Every ad is just about what hamburger and meat and everything, right? Intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. All 4 things are being promoted there. So the question is that why would we work so hard and expect our children to follow the 4 regulative principles, but then expose them to this at the same time? It's like lighting a fire and pouring water in it. It's bad association. We actually are very careful with our children, aren't we? When we want to choose the association, who they hang out with, right? It's very important. We always try to find out who are your friends. Where are you going to go after school? What are you going to do, right? We're worried about the association. Well, this is bad association right in our own house. It encourages bad behavior, bad association. So we have to be very careful because sometimes we think, well, this is okay. Sometimes for ourselves also we think, well, I know I'm a devotee, I cannot be affected by that. But the medium is so strong, is so powerful that we will be affected. They've done research, you watch something several times, they said 66 times or something, it becomes part of your life. Any ad they play, you keep watching it, you accept it. This got to be good. So that's one thing, is breaking all the four regulative principles. Sometimes people say, well, you know, there's some good shows, right? There may be some good shows. It's all about geography. There's Discovery Channel in America. Well, what about that? The problem is one never stops. You know, you watch 15 minutes of screen. What happens? It turns into half hour. It turns into 45 minutes. It turns into 1 hour. It's hard to give it up. Anytime it's very addictive, right? It acts like drugs. They've actually done research. It's just like taking cocaine. There's a hormone, when you do video gaming, there's a hormone that's released called dopamine. And it's similar to a cocaine user. It's hard to stop. So when children don't stop, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. It's the nature of this addiction. And of course, there's a lot of problems with it. It creates depression. The suicide rate in America is going up every year. In schools, just in Utah school, it doubled in 1 year. Suicide. Because children, they get on social media, this is how they find their identity. This is where their identity is. It's a fake world. It's not true. They watch somebody on social media looking really happy. Are they really happy? No. There used to be a time when the kids would come to their parents and say, Mom, how do I look today? And the mother would say, oh, you look so nice. Or father would say, you look so nice. That meant everything to them. That was the approval they were looking for. Now their approval is through social media. And if they get bullied on social media, their life is finished. They don't think it's worthwhile living. So that causes depression, self-harming. People, they cannot take challenges. The way this medium is, they lose their ability to take even small challenges. Anger problems. There's one girl, I just met her in Copenhagen. She's 15 years old, nice girl. And she was saying how she was given the phone. She's Indian, and she was given this phone very early in her life. I think she was like 9 years old or something. And she became totally addicted to it, and she could see that she was changing, like her anger problems, her depression was increasing every day. And she didn't know how to control it. And then her mother saw it, and she would take away the phone and say, you're just not going to be on the phone anymore. And she would get into such a rage. And she didn't know what to do. But she was an intelligent girl, very reflective. And she tried to figure it out, and she knew it was this evil that she had, right? And she tried to stop herself and everything. She needed help, really. And she came and said, I don't know how to stop, because my friends, some of them are getting them now. So they're all excited about it. They say, what? You will not, keep a phone? So there's that peer pressure as well. So this is happening even among the devotees, unfortunately. Right? And of course, I met so many parents who said, the kids, they come home and that's where they want to be, is with their phones. And if you try to stop them, they threaten me. I'm going to run away or commit suicide or something. They scare you. There was one mother who came and told me, and that was in India. India is like, it's all about information through technology. It's big over there. But there's no transformation of the heart, So this is our life, our life has become. It's all information, right? And this is what these things are doing to us, right? So in other words, we first have to educate ourselves and realize and try to find a solution for it. Right? The other problem, before I get into the solution, the other problem is the medium in which it's given. The reason why it's so harmful is because it's a one-way download from the tube to the brain of the child. So in other words, it's passive thinking. It encourages passive thinking. It makes the brain mentally lazy. They've actually done research that when you're watching on the screen, the brain activity is zero. The brain stops functioning, basically. It loses all its creativity, creative ability. You know how the brain has such a power of creating a picture, an imagination. It loses that ability because there's no activity there. They've actually done also research that if it's given to a child very early in life, if it's given later, it's still okay. Obviously, we need it. You can't live without there's so many of the devotional things we are doing. I myself, I have to have it, right? So but the thing is, when it's given very early in their life, then it permanently rewires the brain. It permanently damages the brain. So we have these neurons that in a healthy brain, a brain that doesn't get exposed to this, the neurons are nicely distributed all over the brain. When the children watch on the screen, then it's all, it's damaged and it just goes to one side. So it thinks only in one way. They lose that ability, that creative, because they're losing that creativity ability to be able to think on all fronts. And this is what, people want. I mean, the people on top, they want people who are just robotical, right? Who all think in the same way. So, Steve Jobs, who's the owner of Apple, who died. So a reporter interviewed him and asked him that, oh, your children must be having all the latest phones, right? And you know what he said? My children don't even have one. They don't even possess one.
Is that good? They don't have a phone.
They don't have a phone. Because he's the maker. He knows how bad it is. In Silicon Valley in California, 75% of the kids don't have phones. They're all people who work for that industry. And they're making a fool out of us, right? So what will happen is, just like smoking in America now is a no-no. Everybody by now has understood smoking is bad for you. So smoking is really, losing its, people don't smoke it so much anymore, right? Because we realize, at least in America, I know I was in Bulgaria just recently, and vaping is the top on the list for vaping. It's the worst in the world. So some countries, anyway. But the reason is because there's so much education behind it, right? 10 years from now, we're going to hear about this, the dangers of exposure to smartphones and all that. And we're going to say, okay, we need to stop. But who's going to be the loser? Our children. It will be too late for them. Because like I said, you can't rewire the brain anymore. So the why? Because the brain stops thinking, being creative. So, and that's why they've done research that among children, the math and reading skills are going down and down and down because you need to exercise your brain. So when you're reading a book, you have to visualize everything. First you have to decode the words, and then you have to visualize the scene. If it's a murder scene or whatever, you have to think, okay, this is happening, the police is chasing, this is happening, right? You have to think about it, you have to imagine the scene. In a radio also, the sound is there, but visually you still have to imagine. You still have to use your creative abilities. But when you watch something on the screen, you don't have to do anything. Everything is given to you. So that's what's damaging. So anyway, so this is something that we have to keep in mind. So what do? It's very, very needed now. Even in schools, they give homework that you have to do on the internet, right? How does it? I mean, in America, even a 5-year-old walks around with an iPad. And I'm sure it's in Europe as well. Imagine, iPad. Of course, they take precautions and you can, it's controlled and all that. It's very difficult. So we have to be, what do? So the thing is that we have to see it like a tool. We need it, right? Especially as adults, we need it, right? We need to email it, we need to look up directions. Now it's so bad you can even get a haircut on the internet, right? I mean, it's like everywhere, it's everything. Our whole life depends on it, right? So we use it like a tool, just like we use a hammer to hammer nails, right? You don't carry a hammer around in your pocket. You don't have a relationship with a hammer. You use a hammer and you keep it away. So in the same way, internet should be used like that. You use it for the purpose you need to use it, and then you keep it away. You turn it off. You put it back in the drawer. And that requires a certain discipline, isn't it? If we are ourselves addicted, how can we tell our children not to get addicted? So using it like a tool. And there's so many other issues with it. You know, the dangers of being in bad association. Children by nature, it's not like they're looking for bad association. You know, it's the curiosity that kills the cat, right? And accidentally they get into bad association. And there's no way to stop it. On television, you can at least control the channels, right? But in internet, there's no sure way of controlling which websites they should go and which they should. In America, it's a huge problem. They've done research, you know, children under 10, I don't know how many, 30% of them are totally addicted to pornography. And they're all looking desperately for help. They're scared. So it's a huge thing. You know, in India, I met mothers, devotee mothers, who were crying because of this. Nobody knows what's going on. The kid is not going to come and tell you, right, what's happening. Schools are there. The friendship is there. So many things. How can we control those things? So that's going to bring us to the next topic later, which is books are the basis. The only way we can stop our children and help them to have discrimination in these things is Krishna consciousness. That's the one powerful effect that helps. After I finish this section. So now we'll go on to, okay, after if people want to stop here and ask questions, or should we go on and finish this whole section? Purity is the fourth. Let me finish it, it'll be easier. So then the morning program. So what are some of the things that we should do to counteract this thing? Okay, they have their peer, they have their friends, they need to go to school, and there are so many children coming from all types of backgrounds, right? Right? It's a fact now. We would like to see ideal families. We'd like our children to associate with children who are, you know, coming from very nice families with good values. But the unfortunate thing is we're not going to find that. Okay? So therefore, we have to give that example, our own example. And at home, we have to give them association, our own association, and do this process that Srila Prabhupada gave, the morning program, which is so powerful. And like it says here, it cleans the body and mind. It makes one peaceful, intelligent, and well-behaved. A lot of the behavioral issues actually go away just by getting up in the morning and doing chanting and dancing in front of the Lords. It's a very, very powerful process. And it holds true even for a man going to work. It's like an armor, a shield that you put on. So that when you go there, when you go to a materialistic environment, it protects you. Krishna consciousness is very powerful. And so we get, for our children, how do we do it? They're going to school, we have to rush them out of the door, barely get there in time, right? So we try to put them to rest early, okay? And then we can be flexible in the morning. We don't have to do a program, a big one, a long one, like in the temple. You can shorten it. We can make it flexible and practical, but the key thing that Prabhupada said that we should be very careful is we must make it enjoyable for them, fun for them. You know? We participate with them. You know, at least one parent can participate. Another one is busy. So in this way, they know the joys of Krishna consciousness there. You know, if we want to take away something that's not good for them, we have to give the positive. It's not possible. We can't tell our children, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It's not going to work. Just like if a child is playing with a knife, how do you take it? You grab it? Very dangerous. You give him a sweet and say, here, take a sweet, and then he throws the knife away. We have to do the same thing with our children. We have to give them the joys of Krishna consciousness. And that's why in the beginning I told you all the different things I was doing. So many different activities, right? So their mind is engaged and they think it's so fun, it's so much fun. Krishna consciousness is so much fun. We cannot isolate our children. We cannot lock them in and say that, well, you're a devotee, so we don't go partying, we don't do all the fun things. Because that's what they're thinking. They're going to school and they're thinking, all these other kids are having so much fun. Why I cannot? When you think about it, it's very unfair for them. They are going 8 hours a day to school, but we are telling them a different story here. It's like asking them to lead two different lives. So we have to compensate that by giving them this side, the fun side. My younger son, when he went to Oxford, he told me that if I did not have the Bhaktivedanta manner, I don't know what I would have done. Because the Oxford University is known as a party university. It's a party institution. I was shocked. You know what their motto is? They take pride in drinking.
Drinking.
Every kid has to drink. It's the pride of the university. My son, when he had his first day there, there's different colleges there, so he was admitted in one of them, the Queen's College. So they had a big orientation. And they were all sitting around this big oval table, and they had to take their first drink. Everybody had to take their first drink. It is a must, right? And here my son is sitting and thinking, now what do I do? And then everybody noticed that he's not drinking. And there was so much pressure building up around him. Come on, Gopal, take one sip. Come on, you can do it. What's wrong with one sip? Come on, man. So much pressure was building that it was like suffocating. And he didn't know what to do. It was so heavy, that pressure was so heavy. For 1 minute he was like, maybe, I don't know what to do. And then suddenly he started thinking about his spiritual master. He was initiated. Right before he went to college, he got initiated. And he's thinking, what am I going to say to my spiritual master? See, this is the power of Krishna consciousness. We also raised him. We sacrificed so much. But the power of a guru, the power of Krishna consciousness, of course he was also thinking about us. But I'm just saying that the only thing that breaks a child, the only thing that stops a child in taking the wrong decision in life, which may be just too late, is Krishna consciousness. Because it's like once you've taken up Krishna consciousness, Krishna purifies the heart. And the child and the person has started developing the ability of making sound decisions. And I know that's true because in India we have Vedic culture. I had Vedic culture growing up. My family is totally a vegetarian. We weren't even eating onions and garlic. Very nice family, right? But can I say that I grew up chanting the holy name every day? No. Of course not. So we tend to take it as like, okay, I was born into this. This is my tradition, so I should do it. But how long does that last? Most of the kids from India, when they come to the USA, they give up everything. A lot of kids. They start eating meat, they start trying out different things. Of course, some of them don't. Not everybody does. Some of them do. But it's very tempting. It's not strong enough to stop a child from taking the wrong decisions. See, even the Vedic culture and all those things are tools. They are important. They are important. But it's not strong enough to help the child make sound decisions. But Krishna consciousness is something which means association of pure souls, the morning program, Shastra, All these things is so powerful what Srila Prabhupada gave us. That's what Prabhupada says. Especially the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, is so powerful that it's the only thing that's, stops a person from going to sinful things, really. And that's why we have to have the faith that this process, when we do this process, our children can come out to be little saints. It's true. They may get distracted maybe sometimes, but they'll soon come back. They come back. So prasadam is also very important because it's one thing that affects our consciousness. Just imagine some food being cooked by somebody who just smoked a cigarette. Right? What is his consciousness going to be like? Or did something abominable? He turns on the bread machine or something. We take that consciousness in us. Prabhupada said if you do just this one thing of only eating prasadam, you go back to Godhead. It's so powerful. So we try our best. In other words, we try our best. I know they go to school and that's very difficult sometimes, right? But if we give them that training at home, believe me, they do develop that discrimination. And they do follow that later in their life. It's true. So, and how do we do that? By giving them all types of prasadam. Children love to eat. Especially little children, they like to eat. This is how they experience the world, is through their tongue. Right? And then as they get older, they don't need so much variety. It gets better for the mothers and fathers. It gets better. Right? But it's an important activity, and there's ways to go around it. I also was struggling because there were parties, people invited, our neighbors invited, and so many things were going on, right? But then, so what do you do? So the way we, followed, especially even my husband when he had to go to work, and there were office parties, my sons when they went, they had to for their work or go to Oxford. So many things, so many challenges are there, right? So we followed one principle that we told everybody is that we don't eat food that's cooked in a kitchen that cooks meat. In other words, we're not just vegetarians. We don't eat in a kitchen that cooks food that cooks meat. It's simple. Because what happens is you go to somebody and they cook you a whole meal and say, I promise you, everything is vegetarian. There's no meat here. Of course, it's not true. They may have put meat broth in it. You don't know. They're the meat eaters, right? So how do you get around it? And they get offended. So you have to make the rules very clear in the beginning. Okay. And you actually gain respect from people. If you have the same principle throughout, you don't keep changing. When you go to work, the man goes to work, one day he eats and one day he doesn't eat. One day he goes to a restaurant with somebody and eats vegetarian food. Of course, you can always eat with them and order a salad or a fruit plate. That's okay. It's not like you don't go anywhere. You eat with them. But they respect you because they know, well, here's a person who sticks by his principles, this is his principle. And we don't try to change it. And the same principles for children, If we had to go to parties and things, what do? So I had this principle where I would cook one big pot of pakoras or something, And then when pakoras, then everybody likes to eat prasad, so we ate, and then maybe another pot of, fried rice or something, with vegetables and things. Yeah, you can go overboard, You can put paneer in it or whatever. So what happens is everybody gets to eat prasad, and your children know that, okay, I'm going to fill up on these two things. And children need constant reminders. You mean, at home before they go, first of all, you fill their bellies. So they're not dying of hunger when they go in there, right? And then secondly, you give them reminders. And that's why this daily Shastic reading is so important. Prabhupada said we don't read Bhagavatam one day. We hear Bhagavatam every day. Because the way our system works, we forget. That's why we have to hear every day. We have to do every day. Read Srila Prabhupada's books. Same thing applies with children. We do Bhagavatam every day. These are constant reminders that will keep coming up again and again, reminding them. And it becomes part of their nature. And they actually become very strong. They become stronger than you. And even as little children, they will go to parties and say, does this cake have eggs? They will ask. Does it have chickens in it? Anyway, they influence other kids too. So in other words, children are very open to doing this as long as they know they have the support of their parents. If the parents are behind that, children would act very boldly. Good association, just like it's important for us, it's important for them also. I'm sorry, this was the wrong, we couldn't do the right slide. This was the one that was damaged. Anyway, so just like it's good for us, it's good for them. And devotee friends are very important to have. Very important. In Radha Desh, I was just there. There are a lot of kids who go to school, but they hang around, their best friends are the devotee friends, because they all live in a community. So I was thinking this community is just like that, isn't it? Yeah, all the kids live at least close by, if not on the premises, but close by. So their sangha of kids is very strong. I mean, the outside kids do all kinds of things, and they just don't do it. And these are kids going to school, because their sangha within the grounds is so strong. They've actually developed a taste for devotional activities. They lose that taste due to the higher taste. And that help, strong friendships with devotees really helps. And the kids need that, they want it. So within the community, we have to give them that, that friendship with other devotees. Devotee kids are the best. Why? Because Krishna is always part of the picture. It's not like devotee kids don't fall down or devotees don't fall down. Of course we fall down, right? But see, when we fall down, our fall down is different from a materialist. Because we fall down, we fall down at least on a platform of goodness. Like sometimes you see, children go away, then fall in love. But they'll fall in love with a devotee girl. Right? So in other words, at least they're falling down on a platform of goodness. And so it's so much better. So that's why having devotee friends is so much better, because Krishna is always part of the picture. But the fall down that children have when they associate with karmic kids and they get very close, that's a different type of fall down. There are two things that we can help our children avoid. The kids who are going to school, which all of your children are going, right? One is, Prabhupada said, intimate association is two things. When you share food with somebody or you spend the night somewhere. That's called intimate association. So we try to avoid that with other karmic kids, these two things. You don't share food. In other words, you don't share, they have meat, right? So avoiding the food and then staying overnight or staying in their homes and stuff. So that's called it. So they're going to school. But if you avoid these two things and give them, in return you give them good devotee association and a lot of, parties. I mean, every day is a festival for us, right? There's so much fun and partying in devotional life. So much. Our children should be here in the temple, participating in all these activities. When kids are left behind, they lose it. They lose it. They have to be part of our life. You take them everywhere you go. When I did a seminar in Chowpatty with my son, then half the crowd was 50% were brahmacharis. Yes. And I was wondering, what are they doing here? And they said, no, we need to hear this. Because they were preaching to grahasthas. It's a very big, nice community, Chowpatty temple. And it says, we are preaching to grahasthas and we are very concerned. Because all the mothers, they were coming during the day and they were doing so much service, really nice devotees. But what was happening to their kids? They were stuck at home. They were not interested. And they said, it's not good. We're losing the entire younger generation. Too much work. And they were glued to they had their own life. It's a huge generation gap now. It's becoming bigger and bigger, the children from their parents. It's not even a gap anymore. It's a valley. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The children, they don't want to, they have nothing in common with the adults, right? Right from the beginning, we put them in a classroom with their own age group. They have no time to associate with adults. They have their own music, they have their own food, they have their own language. They don't relate with us anymore. The Krishna consciousness is so nice, right? We have our same music, we have all the same food, everything same. So where's the gap? Very, very little. So that is why it's so important to have the children participate, bring them here, make the temple, have them as the most important people in the temple. They participate in everything. They have Sunday school program, they have, they participate in, they volunteer time in some temples. In our temple there we had them cook a Sunday feast together. It's all kids' Sunday feast today. Of course we have Kirtan Mela, that's very popular now in ISKCON. Places where children, they can even give classes. So in other words, we have to make them in the lead. We have to give them the confidence. When they take leadership and then people appreciate it and they clap for them, then they become proud. Oh, I'm a devotee. I'm proud to be a devotee. This is how they need to feel. People are clapping for me. I'm a devotee. And the same thing when we were doing school programs, people would clap. What does it do to the child? Huge moral boost, right? Because the parents complain. They're so nice little children when they're little. What happens when they start growing? Teenage. They start losing interest, right? They're stuck way back in the temple, in the back of the room, right? They're not even here, maybe. What happened? Okay, so temple is an excellent resource. Dramas. Where in the school, which school will you find, enacting dramas so many times a year? The type of training our children get in terms of leadership positions, in taking the lead, nothing like the Krishna consciousness. So many dramas they can participate. When they get a chance to express their emotions. Children like to express themselves, right? Drama is such a wonderful way for young boys and girls to be able to express their emotions, their feelings, act out. Even little girls, they want to be like mothers or something. They get a chance in the drama. It's so fulfilling. We are towards the end of our first slide. This one more. Deity worship. Again, some very important activity for our children. To see, it helps for the child to see Krishna as a person. Somebody that they can love and serve. How does love develop between two people? It's when we serve each other, right? We can say, I love you, I love you, I love you, but if there's no service, there's no meaning to love. Right? So the same way it works for, when we serve Krishna. How do we develop love for him? It's when we serve him. So when children engage in some activities, and here you see this little child with the Rath Yatra cart. And then of course they can also do deity worship, under the parents' supervision, their own deities. They can have dolls, Krishna dolls, if they're too small, or they can have little Gaurnitais that you can supervise. My children used to have 4-inch Gaurnitai deities. And they would spend, like when they were little, they were spending like 2 hours just bathing them, and I was there, I had to support. And then they would bathe and dress them and put ornaments. And I could see they would be it was so absorbing for them. The children need to play. But Prabhupada said, well, they can play in a useful way as well. Why should they waste their time? It's play, but it's meaningful play, right? And then we would do the arti, and we'd make an offering. And so in this way, it's a very natural way of evoking love of God. And they learn the art of offering everything to the Lord. Okay, so I'll stop here. There's many other things here. This is my first section that I just covered, which is purity is a force. So if anyone has any questions or comments on this first section, I'll be happy to take that.
So how parents who live in a community, the kids, how they going to have their own programs, Parents in Canada.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that. Here is the temple. You come here.
Yeah, but the kids, are they going to come at 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah. So like I said, at home the program becomes flexible. It becomes flexible. Okay, so you can change the time. If you cannot make it at 4:30, you can do it at 6:30. The idea is that you must start the day remembering the Lord, hearing and chanting. That is purifying. Very, very purifying. Especially if they're going to go out for 8 hours a day. We can, like I said, we can shorten the program, we can make it flexible. If you absolutely cannot do it, then do it in the evening. Better we do it twice a day. Of course, if you have the temple, then in the evening they come here. Obviously, they can come here. So nice. So you just adapt to what you can, everything can be adapted. But the principles remain the same. There has to be some adjustment in Grihastha life. Okay. It's not like our kids cannot go to Gurukula, so they don't follow anything. No. Okay, there's the Vedic model where children went to Gurukula because the parents understood that there's so much bodily attachment that it's hard to train a child. So they would send the children to Gurukula, where they were trained by people who were very advanced. Okay. That's the Vedic model. What is the contemporary model? It's something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur did. He raised 9 children, but he raised them at home. So in other words, okay, I didn't send my children to Gurukula. I needed them. We were running a small center, and there was so much to be done, and there's such helpers for us. So if you can even send your children to school. But still, the model, the basic principles have to be there. This house still becomes an ashram. The parent becomes the teacher, the guru. But there's still adjustments, And we have to, again, it leads us into a whole discussion of how we raise our children, If you're going to follow the model where we are bodily attached to them, to the point that we lose the goal of how we are raising our children, obviously it's going to create a lot of confusion and a lot of challenges for us. The more we divert from the one principle of parenting, the most important principle, is that we are here to facilitate the soul's journey back to Godhead. I mean, these children didn't decide to come to our family, to be born in our family. We didn't decide that. Krishna decided that. The journey was broken. And that's why when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, the child in the womb He's going through so much suffering. He's praying to, some of them who are very advanced, they pray to the Lord, please get me out of this suffering. I promise I won't forget you again. But obviously the process of birth is very painful, so they do forget. But then what becomes the duty of the parent is to help the child go, remember the Lord and go back. This is our primary duty. So how we do it, that can be adjusted. But the principle remains the same. These kids are born in our families, they're very, very special kids. To be born in a devotee family is not an ordinary thing. The Bhagavad Gita talks about it, right? Only yogis who've done a long practice and they're not able to finish, they are born in the family of transcendental life. It's a very special birth for them, for these children. And they're looking up to us to complete this journey. And this is our prime duty, and if we don't do it, obviously it's not pleasing to Krishna. It is not, definitely. Now it may be more challenging for some people. We may not be blessed with some powerful ray of Vishnu's, right? But yet the duty is there, and we do it to the best of our ability and do it. And there are some kids who won't even take it, who won't even accept it. It's too kind of a little late for them. But still, the work goes on. The caring based on the spiritual principle goes on. You have a question? Yeah.
I have a few questions.
Oh, good.
Okay. So the first one, when you said with regards to children of the same age, so basically from your point of view, is that children should more associate with adults?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, they need to play, frolic, have fun. It's not like they shouldn't be hanging around with kids their age, but they also must have good adult association as well. Yes.
What was your education level when you started to homeschool? Like, where were you?
Yeah, I mean, I had some college growing up in India. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, if you're asking whether one needs to be qualified to homeschool, no. There was one family in Boise across the street from the temple. She had 5 children and she wasn't in high school. And it's everything. It's like in the beginning, children need to be homeschooled, taught, but then because they develop such good study skills, later on they teach themselves, pretty much. And there's of course the husband also, who can help. And also you can hire tutors. You can hire tutors if things get too difficult, but that comes later. And by then, when things became very difficult for me, by then they could teach themselves. Actually in America and in London, like Oxford and Cambridge, and in America like Harvard and MIT and all, they actually look out for homeschoolers. They prefer homeschoolers because of good study skills. Because they develop such good, and they have so much motivation. Because there's no diversion. Their mind is not so cluttered with all kinds of things, right? So their study skills are very good. They do better. But like I said, it's not for everybody. But statistically, it's shown that they have a better, easier time.
I'm not a Hare Krishna, so this is a question that I
Sure.
know. You mentioned 3 points. The second was daily worship, the third was Guru Kula, and the first one was it was sort of near the start of the talk. I think you were it was with regards to how the children would be trained to love God.
Yeah, I mean, those who cannot, Gurukula model is not for everybody because Gurukulas are not around anymore. There's very few of them. And secondly, the second model would be teaching them alternative education, where you teach them at home. And if that also is not working, then you send them to school. There's many options.
like when you're training, you were speaking of like training a child to love God.
Yeah.
So you were speaking like of deity worship as one avenue.
Yeah.
There was another avenue, but I missed.
Good association.
Okay.
Yeah. Prashadam. Yeah.
Okay.
Morning program.
You mentioned about a bumper sticker. What was the group?
Oh, I don't.
I missed the name of the group that put that bumper sticker.
No,
on the
just no,
TV.
I don't know the name of the group. It's just a whole section of people
Okay.
who don't have television at home.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
I wanted to know about the screen, if devotional videos, it's okay or still avoid it? We have to avoid since age maybe or
You have to avoid what? What?
devotional videos like screen, but
Yeah.
if
Oh,
it's
devotional.
devotional.
Very good question. Yeah. So, no, devotional videos obviously are better, you know. Again, the problem is the medium, the way, what it does. You know, the same devotional video, if you were to read a book, remember, then the brain is active. There's two-way interaction, right? I talked about reading a book. It creates, the brain has to be creative, right? So it's, the reason why this is not a good idea to be on the screen, even though it's devotional, not too much, is because the retention is very little when you're watching on the screen. Because again, there's no two-way interaction. So the retention is very low. And you see how today, it used to be during my time, they would change a scene every 3 minutes or something. Every 3 minutes. And we were totally happy with that. You know, there would be black and white videos and there would be a conversation and it would go on and on and on. And people would, wow, wow. Now, people don't have that ability to wait for 3 minutes before the scene changes. It went from 30 seconds, now it's down to 15 seconds. And it's getting less and less. Why? Because the ability to retain is shrinking. They need this dopamine every second. Every second they need this dopamine. So that's why the medium is wrong. It creates addiction. Have you ever seen a child scream when you take the phone away? It's like that scream is so unique. It's not the scream of hunger. It's not the scream, even the cry for the mother. It's intense. Why? Because it's very addictive. It's hard to take the child away from the screen. So again, we're talking about medium. Suppose if the child is watching 2 hours of devotional video. Well, he's going to end up watching a lot of non-devotional videos because he's addicted by them. So we used to always also watch. You know, like you have to have some kind of entertainment, sometimes family time like that. But it would be just once in a while, and everybody would sit down to watch a Hare Krishna movie. So the kid understood that this is special time, family time, we all watch together. So many parents have this struggle, the kids won't eat, especially when they're 2 years old or something. I don't know if the America is going through that. But they won't eat, and it's such a struggle to getting them to eat, right? And you put on a Krishna cartoon, everything goes in. Easily. It's just so simple, right? And my daughter-in-law started doing that. She was so frustrated, she said, I can't. And she started doing that. Then she started noticing the child wouldn't stop eating. Just eating more and more and more because she knew that if I stop eating, that it will turn off. They understood that it's going to be on only during the time of the eating. They would eat and eat and eat because that thing would stop. And then she was like, oh, this has to stop. And then she just stopped it and she started telling them a story during that time. Some word, hard word, but and now she won't even show them during food also. Like, they know that this little thing is not for them, period. Of course, there's always emergencies. Like, when we had this long flight from America to India, 27 hours, imagine. and the children have, this cream or something and everybody's sitting there, then you give it to them. You see, it can be used in a practical way for emergencies. There's always some emergencies in life, right? We give them. But the child understands, it's not for every day. There's an emergency. Like remember, early in life, totally damages the brain. Later on, a lot easier. Much better. As long as you can postpone it, it's the best. They will give in to peer pressure, but you have to educate them. Ted, that person who does these shows in America, he says, there's nothing, no, you just take it away. Just like you don't want somebody to experiment with drugs, right? You just take, you just have to stop it. So like that kind of thing. I was in Lithuania some months ago, and it is a farm, beautiful farm community, nice, everything beautiful. And there was this one mother whose teenage son was just like totally addicted to it. He refused to come to the temple, and that's farm life. It's like in a farm. So you think that with this kind of wonderful, clean atmosphere. No, but they're getting that association in school. So it's everywhere. And remember, it's giving bad association. It's encouraging bad behavior. One time my son was on this long flight, 27-hour flight, and so he turned on the TV in the airplane. They grew up without watching television. We had a television set, but it never turned on. We were using it for once in a while, family, watching type thing. And so he turned it on, and what did he see? There was this show, 40-minute show, and it was all about how stupid, how foolish your parents were. The whole show was that.
How stupid what?
How foolish your parents are. That was the whole show. And it's not, you see it and you know that's true. They keep people give these shows and children watch it. In America, if you go, the type of casual relationship they have with their fathers is unbelievable. You hear that when they pick their kids from school. They're talking. They talk in a very casual way. Shut up, Dad. Oh, shut up. That's how they talk. Where are they getting all this from? The parents are not going to teach all that. You get the kid to watch these kind of shows a few times. You're trying to teach them a whole different thing. You're trying to get them to read Shastra, to understand how these members are so revered, respectable, and you expose them to these things. Well, it's not going to work. It's too powerful. Medium. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So I'll just finish a couple more slides and then we should stop and continue the second part next time.
We can stop 6:30 because 6:30 is Arti.
Okay. Oh, 6:30 is Arti. Okay.
And then tomorrow I put a session 5:30 maybe with kids if there can be something with the kids, and then afterwards we could go on if there is question and answer, and then after tomorrow I put another session. It can also be 1 or 2 hours session from 4 to.
You had another day for 2 hours. I don't know which day.
Yeah. After tomorrow.
After tomorrow. Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
From like 4 to 6 or 6. But we could go for another half an hour if everyone.
Okay. So we did discuss a few other things, and that was so these are the different ages and how to give them Krishna consciousness in different ages. And it starts very early, isn't it? And it starts really even before we conceive the child, right? How to invite a powerful soul within the womb, how to invite that. So it starts very early. And that's important too, that part is very important. Is because we then avoid a complicated soul, basically, isn't it? It's a whole difference between having a complicated jiva versus somebody who's already empowered from his last lives. So, in other words, Krishna consciousness begins even before we conceive a child. In other words, our consciousness at the time of conceiving is so very important. So it really begins very early. And then what to speak of when the child is within the womb of the mother, it's a very powerful time. Of course, we know the story of Prahlad Maharaj, how he heard, every day he was hearing Bhagavatam class from Narad Muni, every day. So if the mother reads Bhagavatam every day, it's going to affect the child. He's going to be a Bhagavatam lover, even when he comes out, right? So it starts at that time. Then, of course, when the child is little, we continue this process. You know, actually, in America, they didn't do much. They had no information about these first early years. They call it the lost years, 0 to 5, because they thought it wasn't important. The child is too little. You just put them in front of the television. You know, a small kid like that, or whatever. You know, or put them with a babysitter. Now they're discovering that actually they lost very important years, and that's up to the age of 5. Is the most important years in a child's life, because whatever the child is raised with during this time, you can pretty much predict what he's going to be in his future. It's so powerful. Why? Because their first impressions are being made during this time. Imagine their first role models. And children are so susceptible to association. Whoever you put in front of them, they will want to imitate like that. Right? You know, Indira Gandhi, she was the daughter of a very big statesman in India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and she was not even high school passed. And how did she become such a big statesman? Just by hanging behind the chair of her father and listening to all the conversations that was going on with the diplomats. And she became such a big politician. And she was not even high school. So in other words, children, what depends on what role models you give them. That's how they're going to become, right? Children are so influenced by people that they look up to. So we become their first gurus. The parents, no matter, you know, they did research, you know, when things got wrong in the Gurukula, they found out that children who had association with their parents, close connection with their parents, they did a lot better than children who were disconnected. Because ultimately it's the parents who influence the behavior, the qualities of the child the most. The type of example that we give them, that has the biggest effect on them. Even though there's so many other factors out there, right, that can influence them. So many authorities now. So that's important, what we do with them. And then, so role models, talking about role models. Krishna conscious role models are actually the best role models. Why? Because Krishna consciousness is on the transcendental platform. When they're reading stories from Srimad Bhagavatam, these personalities are on the transcendental platform, so they're displaying qualities that are on the transcendental level, Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Right? What happens is, in material life, even if they find role models that are, you know, they're good people, sometimes you get people who are actually good people, right? There are people out there who are good people. And they are good family people, they take care of their family. And the children are encouraged to look up to them, right? There used to be one tennis star in America, very well-known tennis star. And he was like a perfection of, you know, good behavior. He had a good family. He was a very good family man, and he was he was a star, tennis star. So all the ad companies were buying his time and projecting him for their products, right? And what happened is within a few months there was a huge scandal that he was having an affair with another woman. So all the, the image, the children were looking up to this role model as example to follow in their own life. What happened to them? They were disappointed, right? They become like skeptical, they become cynical. Hey, nobody is really good in this world. Or if they try to imitate also, some kids try to imitate. Okay, they did it, let me do it too. So either way, it doesn't work. Why? Because there's no pure goodness in the mature world. Goodness is always staged with passion and ignorance. It always gets contaminated. And that's why Krishna conscious role models are better. Because we are trying to get on the Shuddha Sattva platform. They're always better. So we want to give them, and if they grow up with these models, then they can frame their life accordingly. My children grew up, in Boise, there a few sannyasis started coming, and they were their role models. And because we were, just a few families and all that, so they would associate with them. And they even traveled with them. During summer, they would go to India with them. They traveled a few times with them. So the effect it has on them is very deep, which we cannot provide, right? And they become the role models of how they see themselves later in life. So we have to give them this alternative. If there's so many role models out there that they are forced to hear and learn about, well, we have to give them this other option of getting Krishna conscious role models. And we should give them opportunities to travel with them, to associate with them. Especially Indians are very scared, they won't let the child miss 1 month of their semester, school, or whatever. We are very ambitious to go on good career and all that. And what happens is, if you don't give them, when they're having trouble, suppose during the teenage years they're struggling, and if you don't give them these good role models, they may lose it forever. But if you give them the right time, you can save them for life. So we should be very eager to bring them to the temple when these pure devotees come and have them associate with them. Just remember that how many role models they're getting out there. And we have to give them the antidote of our own role models. Okay, then we have these little children. Again, Prabhupada really stressed that play should be also Krishna conscious. He was very, very keen on that. One would think that play is something so harmless. What's so important about them playing Krishna conscious? Well, Prabhupada said when they play Krishna conscious games and things, they actually associate with Krishna. Because Krishna is absolute. So when one plays Krishna conscious games, you're actually associating with Krishna. It's very powerful. You're in the pastime with Krishna. So the child grows spiritually. He makes advancement very quickly. Simple toys that are not electronic, high-strung, which Prabhupada didn't like them. He liked simple toys for children that were peaceful. Don't let them waste time. Prabhupada compared the children to the materialists. How materialists will waste hours of time. Sometimes I don't know if you're around them, it's like, So anyway, and then, so children, they have to play. Definitely they have to play. We can't curb their playing need, the need for play. But what they play, who they associate with, that's very important. Engage them in deity worship. They play with dolls, Krishna dolls. They can be busy all day, dressing them, putting a new turban. They go shopping, buying different pieces of cloth with new turbans every day. These are to be encouraged. I know one little girl in Boise, she would want to make a new turban every day. She would come to the bigger temple and watch what we did, and then she'd go home and imitate that. And want the same turban for her little Krishna doll. It's so sweet. They want to imitate you playing, chanting japa. They don't even have beads in their bag. Right? And they're going around, chanting, oh, we chanted 16 rounds today, Mom. They love to imitate. And we have to encourage them like that. There was this one little girl that I know that who was being, raised by her mother at home, and she would do the whole thing. She had Krishna Balaram dolls, and she would do the whole thing. In the morning she woke up, and she had the morning program, and then she'd dress them, and then she'd have Shingar Aarti, and then she would invite everybody to Shingar Aarti. Like it was a big thing for her. All day she was busy with, because children, we see dolls as dogs. Okay, it's a doll. What do children see? Children see dolls as persons, as a person. They're feeding the doll, they're putting the doll. It's a real thing for them. So when they worship Krishna, they actually see Krishna as a person. We see Krishna as a deity. Krishna manifested in a deity. They see Krishna as a person. That is the thing, they've done research. How when a child watches the screen, the way the child watches versus an adult. And these advertisers, they take advantage of that. Because they know, they studied all this. I heard that in some countries they banned advertising for little, very small children because they cannot discriminate. Some country in Europe. Because they take advantage of that. Their vision is so different. That's why when you give them Krishna consciousness, they just take it so well, so quickly. I mean, when you hear the Bhagavatam, when you hear the stories of these great acharyas, when they, in their childhood, Mirabai, Uddhava, Parikshit Maharaj, the way they grew up, these powerful personalities, right? They were also playing with Krishna dolls, right? They grew up playing with Krishna dolls. And even Prabhupada, he cried for deities and his father brought him. And he was imitating. Children at this age love to imitate. But we have to give them the facility. We give them the education. We give them the example, but then we have to give them the facility, right? Just like if you're learning how to drive, you also have to do all these things. The facility has to be there. So we give them this facility to be able to worship Krishna. Okay, so we'll go to this one now. The 5 R's. Just a little extra slide here, just to tell you what are some of the things that are the most important to teach our children. We get so bogged down. Sometimes we get so confused because now in the academic world, in the schools, they teach so many things. Even in elementary school, right? So many subjects. Social sciences, this, that. I know in India they carry big, heavy bags. Little kid with heavy bags, right? They have to study so much. It's 10 subjects at such an early age, at 6 years old. But what do they really need is these 5 R's, which is reading, writing, this has to be changed, arithmetic. It's not Sanskrit, sorry. I thought because we couldn't do the actual slide, somehow it wasn't playing. Sorry, these are some errors here. It's arithmetic, which is math. Okay, it's math. Memorization of shlokas is rote. It's another R, rote. And music is raga. So these 5 R's. If you give them these 5 hours, they'll excel in anything you want them to excel. Reading, language arts is the key for all humanities. Math, which is arithmetic, is the key for all sciences. Rote is very important, memorization for brain to be sharp. And raga is very important, music. Right? So if these things, if you give them, if you make them good in language arts, vocabulary, comprehension, all these things, they can master any language, any subject. My children, they did this 5 hours, and then later on when they went to college, they did those subjects for the first time in their life, which means history, geography, psychology, anthropology, even sciences like chemistry and physics. They had math. They had strong math. Even that can be mastered. Why? Because you've given them the ability to think, first of all, critically think. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is, right? Prabhupada's books are masters, PhD level. His books are. It's not like you're trying to create a PhD kid over there. His books will naturally do that. And I didn't know that. I mean, for me it was a shock because, for me there was a choice what to do. Delay everything by another few years till they got that tutoring for chemistry, physics, and everything. It was okay. It's like, a devotee kid's brain is without clutter. That's the main thing. It's clean. They're not doing those useless things, bad things that others may be doing, right? So that goes a long way in quick absorption. It goes along, also there's so much motivation. Some people were saying that, oh, you raise your kids at home, now how are they going to fit outside? In the outside environment. Are they going to be able to, assimilate, be with kids so older than them and all that? It was not a problem. Because again, the study of Bhagavatam gives so much emotional maturity. Prabhupada said, the Bhagavatam covers every psychological situation in the world. Is in the Bhagavatam, right? Any types of psychological situation is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Surishi's head, her brain was a Suniti's brain. So many things, and of course we'll cover all that later on, but it's like all types of stories, all types of fall downs, all types of qualities, envy, compassion, mercy, everything is there. A child raised in Srila Prabhupada's books has no problem understanding anybody's psychology. Even a young child can relate with the older person and still remain an innocent child. So, and then of course shlokas is important as well, and music, very, very important, because, and the nice thing is that when you see some talent in your children, it's good to cultivate that inclination, very important. Why? Because it gives them the confidence. It makes their faith in Krishna consciousness stronger. Why? Because they're going to excel in that. And when they perform in that area, they get appreciated. And that solidifies their faith in being a devotee. Anything you find in them, that you see that is something that, they're showing a special gift, we must help and cultivate that. I saw that in my older son for Sanskrit, for language. And I said, okay. It could be anything. It could be music, it could be language, it could be so many things, right? If you have any questions, please interrupt me. You can interrupt me anytime, okay? Yes.
What do you mean by writing?
Yes. In other words, just writing work, when you do writing and answer questions, any kind of writing work. Ultimately, you have to also learn how to write. But good question, because before writing comes reading. Writing is second. You can wait. A lot of children don't want to write very early in their life. It's something they want to wait. It's okay. Reading is very, very important. Teaching them how to read is key to any other subject. And then of course they have to, and so you get them to write, and the way to write, trick them to writing is, we would have plays, then I would ask them to write a script. And direct the play, or do something like that. So they say, okay, I have to write the play, I think it'll be so much fun, I'll get my friends over. And then to write the play, you have to read that section from the Bhagavatam. So festivals were our biggest days for education. Like we were teaching more during festivals than on other days. Because then you read the story, you write the script, So many things you can learn. And there's so much enthusiasm because it's something out of the ordinary. It's not the routine. So like that. So they get to write, and then they, as little children, you can encourage them to write birthday cards. Every festival you can have the children write a letter to Krishna or make a card to Krishna and put it on the altar. Okay, Jagannath Rath Yatra, Lord Jagannath is sick. Okay, let me write a get well letter to Lord Jagannath. Okay, Lord Jagannath, please get better. These things are very important for children. So this way they're writing, but they're also building a relationship with Krishna. It's so sweet. They can make a card, they can draw. I'm sure a lot of things you're already doing here, but Rath Yatra also is another such a nice way for children to get involved, make garlands for the bathing festival, when Lord Jagannath gets sick. It was such a nice time for children because they were making all these garlands of fruit garlands and this garland and so many other garlands. And they're all coming together, getting so excited making these different garlands for Lord Jagannath, taking out different fruit juices. Children should be active participants in Krishna consciousness. We should have the mood that, they are a nuisance, or they're disturbing, or it's just not so much easier. Of course it may be easier, but then how do you raise children? How do you raise them? Without giving them that experience. All these kids, Acharya kids, they had that experience. They were doing these. Remember that story of Prabhupada, when he cried and he went on the street and he had a tantrum because he wanted a Jagannath cart. And nobody would give him. And he's going everywhere asking whether they could give him a cart. Finally he started crying, like bawling. This old lady came, "Oh, don't cry, I have this cart. Come." And she had a very old looking cart. And Prabhupada took that and he repainted it. For days he was involved in that. Right? We've taken the childhood from our children by exposing them to just these little gadgets, We've robbed them of their childhood by allowing them to do that. And then we may, later on it's too kind of very late, right? And now people don't even want to have children. It's just too troublesome. Too troublesome. Amen. Of course, if due to certain reasons we cannot, that's another story, but Prabhupada said there is no married life without children, Because it really, for me, what it did is help me grow spiritually. It helped me make advancement in spiritual life. It's a sacrifice, right? It's a whole sacrifice, and there's struggles, but we grow due to the struggles. Spiritually, we grow. And that's very important. The one thing, other thing, anybody have any more questions? Yes.